This episode of the Grappler Union podcast is brought to you by BJJ Tees. Go to bjjtees.com, enter the promo code Grappler Union, and save 10% off all your jiu-jitsu apparel. Go to bjjtees.com today.
This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Strychnine Jiu-Jitsu, makers of vintage-inspired tees, hoodies, and rash guards. Go to strychnine.co, that's strych9.co, and use the promo code UNION at checkout to receive 20% off your online order.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Grappler Union Podcast. Paul Maloney alongside Anthony Zito. On this episode, we have Mark Daley, better known as Mack the Knife, in studio. Mack is a second-degree black belt under Carlson Gracie Jr., and he's the owner and head instructor at Copa BJJ in Wrigleyville. Enjoy.
I hate the 6 minutes. That's what happens in that 6 minutes.
You told me using any technique that works, never to limit myself to one style. Keep an open mind.
We're not here just to take part, we're here to take over.
In order to become more peaceful, in order for you to become better and strategize your life.
All right,
We're live. Excellent.
Mack the Knife.
Mark Daley. Mark Daley. You don't go by that, though, do you?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I don't think anybody knows my real name in jiu-jitsu. From early on, I was called Mack the Knife, so.
Now, Carlson gave you that?
Yeah. It started, my first nickname, my last name's Daley, spelled like the old mayor.
Okay.
So my first nickname was Mayor.
Okay.
And then when Senior came, he spoke almost no English at all.
Okay.
And I introduced myself. I'm Mark. What? Mark. Mack? Close enough. So he was really into music, and Mack the Knife is a song.
Right.
And somehow, and I've got a background in knife fighting, so I don't know if that entered into it, but he started calling me Mack the Knife, and it stuck.
Beautiful.
And then Junior calls me Macchino. That's like Little Mac. Because I was always a little smallest guy in the mat. I trained with like Stefan Bonner and all these monsters all the time. So I was always the smallest guy. So Macchino.
And you've been training since 1998.
Correct.
Wow.
In jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
And before that, what did you do like with knife fighting?
Well, that was part of a Hapkido system that I was involved in. I've done Hapkido for 30 years.
Oh.
So that was my main style.
Okay.
And the jiu-jitsu thing, I kind of thought I'd supplement my Hapkido.
Oh, really?
And, it, as we all know, that took over my life, especially with seniors. So it just turned out to be less and less Hapkido, more and more jiu-jitsu. And
Now, Hapkido, with that art, what does that involve?
It's a Korean style, a lot of joint locks, very much self-defense oriented. So that's really my main interest is self-defense more than competition or sport. I like street fighting type stuff.
Okay.
So that's why the Carlson system was perfect for me because he's,
And Hapkido, who'd you study that under?
Several people, but the original master was out in the suburbs, Guido Chang.
Okay.
He's an 8th degree black belt, just a gentleman, very, very tough dude. He's older now. Mm-hmm. But I did that for several years. And then I'm an engineer, electrical engineer. Okay. And I worked for GM. And I got transferred or a promotion to Indianapolis. And so I had to leave Master Chang as black belt. And I went down there looking for Hapkido schools. And there were no Hapkido schools. So I started in Taekwondo. But I didn't like it much. Okay. And I was looking for some more hand-to-hand, combat-oriented. So when I went to Indianapolis, there were no Hapkido schools. So I found a Taekwondo school that taught Hapkido once you got black belt. So I was already almost black belt. It was fairly easy to get in Taekwondo. So I got the black belt, and I started doing Hapkido, and it was kind of watered down a little bit. But one of the guys in the school was a 4th degree black belt. This dude was a bad boy.
So Hapkido black belts are different than a Taekwondo black belt.
Correct.
So does it compare to a jiu-jitsu black belt?
No, nothing compares to a jiu-jitsu.
Nothing
black
compares
belt.
to that, right?
No.
It
was about 5 years.
Isn't that fascinating? Like how that whole thing came up. Like you can get a black belt in Taekwondo fairly simple, and you could be a young kid actually have a black belt.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then
you know, all of a sudden jiu-jitsu is like 10-year. Like
Yeah.
you could
You
become
need
a
to give
doctor.
your life for this.
Right. You can become a
Exactly.
doctor
Yeah.
first before
Yeah.
becoming a black belt.
I've been doing jiu-jitsu longer than my wife took for medical school.
Right.
So,
Incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about it. You know?
That's what I love about it too. I mean, that's what's kind of strange. I'm just surprised that the other arts haven't like kind of adopted that same type of like, or do you think it's just like it's so ingrained in their like they're like,
you
no,
know,
we're not going to change because of that. You know?
You know, there's that obvious debate in the martial arts community, and my personal opinion is every art has its standards, and it's really none of my business. If
Right.
when I see a 6-year-old black belt, it's kind of amusing, but
Isn't it? Well,
it
you
is
get-
what
you
it
get
is.
that, like-
That's America for you.
Right, but-
Hopefully, jiu-jitsu doesn't get there. I'm
I
afraid.
God, I hope
I'm
it doesn't.
afraid it could go that direction.
You think so?
Well, I don't see much evidence yet, but I can see Americans have a way of doing that, making everything fast food. And I
Right.
just hope to God it doesn't. It won't in my school, that's for
No.
damn sure.
I mean, I don't know any
Carlson will
instructors.
strike me dead from it if I ever.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that would want it. That would want that anyway.
Well, one of the big differences with jiu-jitsu than a lot of the other styles is sparring.
Right.
So you can't, walk around with your chest puffed out, being a brown belt and getting beat by blue belts. So, you got to earn it.
Right.
And you got to prove it every day. So
Every day.
every day.
It's fantastic, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
so amazing. Do you have open mats by your school?
Yeah. Right now they're kind of just for our school.
Okay.
The main reason I do that is I guess I'm just interested in the students' safety. Somebody comes from another school. I don't know. I think it's getting more and more open where
Yeah.
you can trust everybody. But I just don't want some meathead to come in and
Agreed.
just think, I don't care about these people. They're not, they're not on my team. I don't know how much that actually would happen.
I mean,
but-
we've heard it before. I mean, we've had other
Yeah.
guests on the show that have, voiced that opinion as well.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with them. I mean,
Yeah.
there are, as much as we like to say it, there are always a few bad, apples in the bunch. And, it happens.
I think I may rethink that though, because I think it's good for the students.
It certainly is.
to-
I mean, I enjoy open mats. I like when people come to even Mineko's and, there's some new faces there and, get the roll and kind of, but everyone's super respectful. I mean, at Mineko's especially, he kind of, commands the room.
Yeah.
And I think that as long as, people walking in understand who the boss is in that room,
Right.
they're going to, toe the line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to do is roll with Mineko when he's pissed at you.
Right.
Yeah, it ain't that much fun when he's in a good mood.
Exactly. Paul realized that the other day.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't. I just we had an open mat, and I just walked on the mat and just started rolling. And you're supposed to. And
Well, he knew this, but Andre, I guess, was rolling with someone.
Andre was
already.
rolling. You greet the black belt as soon as you step on the mat. But Andre was in the middle of a round at the time, so I just kind of started rolling.
He decided to come to me and start beating me up for 6 minutes.
Yeah. But Andre's like, you greet me when you come to the mat, blah, blah, blah. He's like, if I invite you to my house, you just come in and walk right to the freezer, or you come say hello to me. I don't
Right to the freezer.
Like, what do you? It depends. What do you got in the freezer? But
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, it depends.
but
if the
no, I
beer
like
is
that
cold in
analogy.
there.
He's right. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
that's funny.
yeah, normally I always greet the black belt right away,
Yeah.
but they're in the middle of a roll. It's I forgot about that. He put it on me after that pretty good.
Yeah. That's good. It's good for you, though.
Yeah, you know him from what, back in the
I think we were blue belts together.
Oh, really? Okay.
Back in the day. I started in '98. Senior came in 2002. In Mineko, I don't know if he was there from '98 on. I remember I sparred him a lot. We were about the same size.
Yeah.
And
So you're a lightweight then?
yeah, about 172.
172, yeah. So did you pick up any Portuguese then?
Yeah.
I mean, the communication with Senior must have been tough. I mean,
Well, I started studying Portuguese because of that.
Okay.
Plus, if you ever met Senior, you know what he's saying. I mean, when he's yelling at you, you don't have to understand the language,
all right.
But what he did, I was fortunate enough to live close to the gym, like 4 blocks away.
Okay.
Senior lived 1 block from me. They got him a little studio apartment right down the street from, it was the FFC gym on LaSalle and Division. And he would ask me, because I was fortunate enough with my job to have flexible hours, so I trained like a lot, especially when he was there.
Right.
And so he asked me to help him do all his privates. And I learned Portuguese from him. I had lunch with him every day. And he wrote, I still got napkins from Chipotle. Chipotle napkins with Portuguese on them. That some of it, as you would say, go Português. Some of it's, Mack the Knife, all you want is shit Português. Every day you ask me how to say, nice butt. And he said, I want to teach you with good Portuguese.
Right.
But yeah, he taught me a lot. So, yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it would have been someone awesome to be able to train with. Or just,
Yeah,
did he roll at that time? Was he rolling? No.
No, he got on the mat and demonstrated techniques. Right. But no, he didn't really spar much.
No. I wonder what year do you think he stopped sparring?
Probably in his 60s.
Yeah. So how old was he in 2000?
Well, that's a lot of people ask me that. And if you look, there's a couple of different dates that they give. My guess is he died when he was 75. Okay. You see, he had to doctor up his birth certificate when he fought Vladimir Santana. I don't know if you know that whole story.
What's the story?
Yeah, he trained at the headquarter, whatever it was called, Gracie School, which Helio was the instructor and Carlson was one of the instructors. And there was a student named Vladimir Santana. And apparently, I've heard different variations, but this guy wanted to fight like a pro wrestling match for money, like a fake fight. And back then, that was just frowned upon, especially if you were a Gracie student.
Right.
And, and again, this story, I may not have it correct, so, if anybody out there knows better, feel free. But I guess him and Helio had a problem. He said, I need the money. And Helio said, no, we don't do that. And he said, well, I'll quit and then I'll do it. And so he quit, did the fake fight, and him and Helio got in this verbal battle. So Santana called him out. And Helio at that time was mid-50s, 130 pounds or whatever he weighed. Right. And Santana, I guess, put a pretty good beating on him. So Carlson's dad, Carlson told me the story. He said, Mack the Knife, my daddy come to me and say, hey, this guy beat your Uncle Helio. I need you to beat him bad. So he was only 17, I think, so I had to doctor up the birth certificate. So I think he may have even forgot how old he really was, because I've seen everything from 71 to 75 that he died.
Oh, so he had doctored up to be older to fight the guy.
Yeah.
And then he fought him.
Yeah, and beat him bad. He fought him 5 times, beat him every time.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Damn.
Yeah, and then Carlson was the king.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Damn.
He was in his prime.
What a time.
Yeah.
What a time.
Yeah.
Damn. I'm still waiting for that damn movie to come out.
Yeah. I just was fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time and had the right schedule, and I was a lucky man. Yeah. They had him and Junior. So the first 4 years I trained obviously with Junior. And then when his dad came, Junior taught mostly the night classes and his dad taught the day classes. And I've got a family, so I didn't like training at night. So I went in there. I taught the 6 a.m. class once I became purple belt. And then I trained with Senior every day. And then we did privates on Fridays.
Wow.
And
did Senior give you your black belt?
No.
Junior did?
No, Junior did. Senior promoted me to purple belt. He died when I was purple belt. He died in 2006, February 1st, 2006.
Wow.
So, yeah. So that's the only rank. The blue, brown, and black I got from Junior. And my 2 stripes. I'm a 2nd degree.
Oh, nice.
So I've been around a while.
Yeah, a little bit. Times have changed, though, haven't they?
Yeah, it's for the better. Yeah. What's cool is all the guys I trained with, Maneko and Jay Valco, and all these guys got their own schools now, and they were all my sparring partners, and we all used to beat the crap out of each other. And, people say, is there any schools to avoid in Chicago? And to tell you the truth, I can't think of any.
Yeah.
They're all good.
They're all good.
I mean, they all have their own specialty, and, Chicago's, if you want to train jiu-jitsu, Chicago's a great place.
Yeah, and then a lot of people are responsive on just this podcast alone, showcasing all the schools that we have, and that's the whole point of why Paul and I really decided to keep doing this podcast, was to really showcase the Chicago jiu-jitsu scene, the Midwest scene, being a little larger. But yeah, it's nice because there's no representation out here anymore. I mean, people kind of forget about the Midwest, and they concentrate on Marcelo Garcia and Henzo, and then you got everybody in California,
and then the top team guys in Florida.
Right.
So luckily we got a good thing going here thanks to Carlson.
Yeah. And then you see everybody, on Facebook that's traveling to Houston Open, Atlanta Open, LA Open, and they're all bringing hardware home. Right. All the Chicago boys.
Two of my students, a brown belt, purple belt, I just got a text as I was coming here. The brown belt won a gold today in Houston, and the purple belt won silver.
Beautiful.
And they both, it's a guy and girl, their boyfriend, girlfriend students that met in my school.
Oh, really?
And they were in Atlanta last week, and they both won silvers last week. So
it's great. You want to tell them their names? What's their names?
Pat Cooney and Kristen. I can't pronounce her last name. Kristen knows who she is.
Shout out to Pat and Kristen.
Yeah,
Pat and Kristen.
Congratulations, guys.
Congrats. Yeah.
Yeah, Pat's my assistant instructor.
Oh, nice.
And Kristen is just, she's just a very pretty lady, and she just beats the shit out of everybody. It's beautiful because I like to see that, because especially in the neighborhood we're in, for some reason Wrigleyville has a lot of women getting attacked. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I keep an eye on it more. But I just love to see women. I've got a couple of purple belts. Another girl, Beth Garcia, is real tough. And it's great that, I hope to God they never get attacked. But if they do, I hope I can watch, because they will hurt somebody.
Right.
It's beautiful. And jiu-jitsu is one of the few arts that I believe actually a smaller person can beat a bigger person.
100%.
Every art says that, but I've been around a while. That's, in my opinion, not the case.
I've been around a while too, and being a littler guy, I know it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wrigleyville's getting, it does seem to be getting slightly rougher over the past
and
couple
again,
years.
maybe it's just because my school's there and I pay more attention to it, but, nobody in my school's ever gotten messed with, but we do a lot of self-defense. Again, even though we win a lot of tournaments, I'm really more interested in self-defense and just real fighting.
Yeah. Do you see that like kind of being lost a little bit more in jiu-jitsu lately?
Yes, I do. And not that I have anything against the sport. I think it's a fun sport. I think it's cool to be able to do inverted guard and stuff that I would never consider doing. But you better know how to protect your family. You better know how to protect yourself. That comes first. That's what jiu-jitsu was designed for.
Right.
So I hope we don't get too far away from that.
Right.
Yeah, I hope not either. I mean, I would like to, you know how Gracie Humaita, they have like that, even I think like Hickson's lineage, in order to get a certain belt, you need to be able to how do you get out of a headlock? How do you get out of a bear hold? I mean, the thing is, like, if you're a good, a tough blue belt, purple belt, even brown belt, and you're just a sport guy, you could pretty much beat up anyone in the street anyway.
Yes, I agree.
But still, I think you should know those fundamentals and be able to pass them on to people as well.
Yes, and there's not that many scenarios that you really need to worry about. I always teach my students, you have three directions of attack: a frontal attack, like a shove, a punch, a bear hug; a side attack, like you say, a headlock, or back attacks. And just know a few for the most common. You don't have to know 800 techniques. No. You just have to know a few for the most common, and I'm a big believer in judo throws, and wrestling, but I have more of a judo background. And you're going to know a couple of throws, because as the judo guys say, we don't punch people with our fists. We punch them with the earth.
That's very true. You ever heard that before?
I haven't heard that.
That's good. That's a good one.
But I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, for me, I don't really think about that because I come from a Jeet Kune Do background. So I did Jeet Kune Do throughout the 90s. So I always have that base of I know, like the four ranges of fighting, kicking, boxing, trapping, and grappling. Yep. So for me, it's like, I know I'm comfortable with boxing. I'm comfortable with kicking. But for people who just do sport, I guess, they kind of don't have that element of, can they even throw a punch? Can they even know what that feels like? So I can see it's very important to keep that self.
And Carlson, both senior and junior are big believers in it, and they both have real good skills. As a matter of fact, I started teaching Hapkido. Well, first I started jiu-jitsu with Carlson, and my goal was to teach Hapkido out of his school because I was like obsessed with Hapkido. Okay. It's very similar to Jeet Kune Do, the philosophy. Okay. There's very many branches of Hapkido. My branch was kind of very street-oriented. I did some trapping drills and mix those in, and so I was teaching on the days on Wednesday nights and early Saturday morning. They didn't have class, so I rented the mats from them. First, I got a blue belt under Carlson, so he didn't think I was a matuka. Right. I wanted to prove that I was a tough guy because he wouldn't just let anybody in teaching something.
What's a matuka?
A wimp.
A wimp. All right.
I got to watch what I say. Some of the listeners speak Portuguese. That's not a bad word, but I know a few.
That's all right. You can curse on the show. We don't mind.
So senior one day came in while I was teaching class, and he said, "Oh, Mack the Knife, let me watch. I've never watched you before." And so I grabbed one of my more advanced students, and I said, "I'm going to put on a little demo." And he said, "That's going to hurt, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah." And so I did, and he said, "Oh, went to boom, very good, Mack the Knife, I like." So after class, he took me off to the side after everybody left. He said, "Mack the Knife, you show me what you do against bear hug." So I showed him. He said, "Oh, very good. What do you do against this?" I showed him, no good, Mack the Knife. Yo, you do this instead." So I said, "All right, whatever you say, boss. I don't care how long I've been doing this. If you say do it this way, we're doing it this way."
Right.
And so we put together a little system, mostly him, that he called autodefesa, which means self-defense. And he said, "No more Hapkido, Mack the Knife. You teach autodefesa." So I said, "Fine, I'll do that in place of Hapkido."
Right.
And that we had this conversation about 2 months before he passed away.
Wow.
And it never materialized.
But is this something you carried on to your current gym?
Yes, actually, I changed the name from autodefesa to rua defesa, which means street defense.
Okay.
And I had some knife fighting stuff and gun and knife disarming type stuff. And I'd like to teach it as a standalone program, and I did for a while, but I did it early on Saturday mornings, and then we had a noon class on Saturdays, so people could only come to one or the other. Mm-hmm. And most of them just wanted to get jiu-jitsu training in. So I decided to just mix it into my regular jiu-jitsu stuff.
So, I was watching, I think it was an Instagram feed that was showing showing a gun defense. Mm-hmm. And I'm just watching it, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't even know if that's... Well, I don't even know if I would even try to attempt some of the stuff that they were showing.
Obviously, you've got to make a decision. People say, "Well, your wallet's not worth your life." Well, that's assuming you give him your wallet and he's not going to shoot you anyway.
100%.
I'm not going to trust the kindness of somebody who's pointing a gun to my head.
Agreed.
So personally, I've never had this situation. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that now in the comfort of your office. But if somebody points a gun at me, I intend to take it away from them.
100%.
Well, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
Luckily, I've trained with a lot of cops and military guys, so they help me, even though I don't shoot guns myself. Right. I'd like to, but I just haven't had the opportunity. They know more what's realistic and what's not. And I try to keep it very bare bones, something that's easy to remember, not a bunch of steps.
Right.
So,
I've trained knife fighting, and we did disarming, and we do all that stuff. And I'm a big advocate of defending yourself, of course. But it's always interesting because people do self-defense seminars, and you get those 3-hour seminars where someone comes in and they teach a class, and then a bunch of people sign up, and then oh, I know this now. I'm like, God, it takes so many years to even understand the amount of adrenaline rush when you have a real gun in a real live situation, and what you're really going to do at that point, where it becomes, forget about how many reps you have to do for it to become second nature. I mean, just that alone takes years.
Right.
I mean, it's when we breathe. We just breathe. We don't tell our bodies to breathe.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So for you to be able to disarm someone where you just do it, like in the movies, it's so difficult to really emulate
a lot of
that.
reps. Yeah.
So that's why, for me, it's like, when I look at those Instagram videos and you watch the movies and people try to emulate Jackie Chan, you're like, I don't know if that shit's going to work. Right?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah, because fights are ugly.
They're ugly.
Often tell my students, this isn't a Steven Seagal movie. This is, if it's fine if it's ugly. It's fine if the throw isn't perfect or the disarm. Look at the UFC. I mean, look how ugly that can be sometimes. I mean, that's as close to reality.
Or a jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like, you never see that perfect, clean Berimbolo back take. It's always sloppy as hell, but they, like, climb up to the back eventually, you know?
And that's reality.
Right.
Yeah.
That's reality. We had an interesting thing happen to our teammates about a month ago. They got robbed.
Really?
Yeah. They're watching the UFC fight, Holly Holm and who'd she fight?
Chris Cyborg.
Yeah. And they walked out of the bar. They were walking home, and like 3 teenagers came up to him. Now, they didn't pull the gun out.
Yeah.
They had it, like, he had it in his pants. He just lifted up his hoodie, and they just said, "Don't get shot today.
Wow.
Give us your shit."
Yeah.
So,
well, if he's not pointing the gun, give him the wallet.
Exactly. Exactly. So the gun never came out. It was never pointed. That's when you just go, here's all my shit. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's an interesting situation.
Yeah.
Even knife is a weird one, because what happens, because I've done a lot of knife fighting, a lot of training knives and this and that, and you kind of get used to, like, it's unfortunate, but I just remember training, and you get me on the arm, and I'm like, I'm going to get you back. And you kind of get a little loose with it. You're like, I'm just going to here. You tag me. And it becomes like a mutual Harry Carry type situation. Like, we're just stabbing each other right now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even, like, we're not even training anymore. Like, we lose it. We lose everything.
Yeah.
You got to kind of, like, keep that always live. Like, you stab me, I'm going to bleed out.
There's my artery. Yeah.
Right. So,
actually, knives scare me more than guns do.
Yeah.
A gun can only shoot in one direction. A knife,
wheeling. Yeah. And that's, when people see when I take a knife, and, like, if I'm at a friend's house and they want to learn something about knife defense, when I was younger, they'd ask me, show me this, show me that, and I would actually, like, do, like, what I would normally do if someone was coming out with a knife. They're like, what the hell is that? Like, I'm literally making, like, huge motions with the knife, because you're not going to come at me.
Right.
If I'm just standing in front of you with a knife, you're like, okay, I'll just come at you. But if I'm, like, making these motions, I'm just coming at you. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to walk in at me? Hell no. You're going to run the other way. Why would you walk into someone who's just waving a knife around all frantically? You're not going to do that.
Like
no way.
Walking into a wood chipper or something.
You're not going to do that.
No
but
thanks.
sometimes people just hold the knife, like, real stiff, like, and they just try to poke at you. That's not how you knife fight. I mean, knife fight is like, you got to be in it. So seeing that, and then knowing that, then training that, it's a different feeling when someone else just, like, has a knife, and you're just like, okay, I'm just going to disarm you. It's not going to be that easy to disarm because I'm not moving like, I'm not just coming at you like, like, what was that one movie with the
Psycho?
Like, just coming down with a knife blade. It doesn't work that way. So you're going to get cut in a knife fight. 100% you're going to get cut. There's no way you're going to get out of that.
Right.
So you got to understand that, commit. And it's for real. It's scary. So when you train, do you still train knife and defense stuff like that?
Well, actually, I kind of got out of it when Senior died. I was helping Carlson Jr. run the school and teach the morning classes, and I quit teaching the Hapkido / Alto Defensa / Rua Defensa, just to because there was when he died, it was a big hole. Obviously, and nobody expected it, especially me. I thought the guy was going to live forever. And so I got out of it that was 2006. I recently moved out to Naperville, and I wanted to kind of like, I still teach a self-defense. I don't do much of the knife stuff or gun stuff at my school in the city. So I got some mats. I put them in my basement. I got about 10 guys and one girl that come over, and we just, like, close the door. And my version of Hapkido or Rua Defensa now is like a combination of Muay Thai, Judo, Hapkido, wrist locks, and self-defense stuff, and then ground fighting. And the girl's actually certified in Guazabara knife fighting. It's a Puerto Rican knife fighting system that was developed by a friend of mine who's an 8th degree black belt in Hapkido. Eddie Perez, he's a retired cop out of Batavia, a very good friend of mine. So I was certified in that system many years ago, and I haven't done it much. So she wanted to learn my stuff and share her Guazabara with us, and I wanted to review and get good at that again. It's fun. We just kind of go in the basement. They're all cool people and just beat the crap out of each other. So,
how about your school in the city? Do you have like a street defense class, or do you just try and mesh that in with regular?
Yeah, I tried to have a separate class. I have two problems. One, my schedule's pretty full. Mat time wise.
Right.
And two, people were kind of having to pick and choose. They couldn't go to two classes in one day. And a lot of them, if they were going to compete, they'd rather go to jiu-jitsu. A lot of people, I don't think, realize the value of the self-defense because you can't really spar. Then it becomes a fight. Self-defense is more reaction. Somebody grabs your shirt and you throw them or whatever, and it's done in 60 seconds. Yeah. Where a match, there's like strategy, and I'm going to take him down, I'm going to pass his guard, go to knee on the belly, go for a choke.
Right.
Street fight's never a self-defense situation. It's more just reaction. So it's kind of, sparring's the fun part. We can't really spar, hard anyway.
Right.
With the street stuff. So most people just would have preferred jiu-jitsu, so I integrated into the jiu-jitsu program.
Yeah.
And what's nice now is a lot of the submissions that we use are legal in tournaments now. When I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu back in 1998, wrist locks, everybody said wrist locks don't work. Well, I'd been doing wrist locks for 20-some years at that point. It's like, they work for me.
Yeah.
And now everybody's a wrist lock king. The Brazilians learn how to do them, so all of a sudden now the wrist locks are cool. So I teach my guys, actually I have a deal in my school that I don't believe a fight should have to go to the ground. So I will buy you a steak dinner if you submit somebody standing.
Wow.
And I've got one guy who submitted somebody with a technique we call a hillbilly, which has got a story in itself, but it's basically an Americana standing.
Okay.
My Hapkido is all jiu-jitsu submissions, but just standing. Okay. You can Kimura standing, you can Americana, you got wrist locks, you can armbar, all that stuff. So you don't have to learn like two sets of techniques. You can do basically, what's the difference? You're just... it's just geometry. It's just change the plane.
Paul knows that because Tony did that Kimura double wrist lock on you.
Double wrist lock, Tony Cicchini.
That was standing. That was brutal.
If he did take me to the ground, in which the way he would have taken me to the ground would have broken my arm and separated my shoulder.
Yeah. Right.
Now that's Hapkido.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. But standing was just a plain old time breaking your wrist.
Right.
Yeah. So, I'm trying to encourage my guys and girls to submit people standing because nobody even thinks about it.
Right.
When this guy got a hillbilly, he never saw it coming. And it was funny.
That's quick, too.
It was one of my white belts. Yeah,
really?
It was real quick.
Yeah.
This dude almost ripped his arm off.
Damn.
This guy couldn't tap fast enough.
Yeah.
It was funny.
White belt got a steak dinner, huh?
Yeah. I haven't given it to him yet. He actually went to Thailand for a vacation.
Okay,
so
you might
when he
get
gets
out of
back, now everybody says, so we get a steak dinner? I said, well, it's changed a little bit. He did it in 10 seconds, so you got to do it in under 10 seconds.
There you go.
Gotcha.
He set the
Smart.
bar.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
That's funny. So your hat says Carlson Gracie Old School.
Old School.
What does that stand
Old
for?
School just means...
We're not flashy.
Yeah.
Here, right?
In Brazil, they call the Carlson style rice and beans. Like we would say meat and potatoes, like just... When I met Senior, he came here again, it was March of 2002. I was a blue belt, and Junior came up to me, and he said, Mack the Knife, my daddy's coming. Well, actually, he didn't call me Mack the Knife then. That's before I had that name. But he said, my daddy's coming. Will you do a private lesson with him to make him feel at home? I was like, hell yeah. I was... in my late 30s when I started, I had a lot of training and prior to that. But I said, if he's willing to do one with me, hell yeah. And I was thinking, man, I'm a blue belt. I'm 40 years old. This guy's he's gonna yell at me. He's gonna take my blue belt away and give me a white belt. He's gonna think I suck. He teaches world champions, and here's this skinny little 40-year-old.
Right.
He was the kindest gentleman I've ever met. And I was amazed at I don't want to call it simplicity of his techniques, but it's like, why didn't I think of that? And he would do a private with you, and you could use it that day in sparring.
Nice.
And there's times I've done privates with other people that were so fancy, I had to write down step after step. And it's like, not in this lifetime, I'm not going to be able to do this.
Right.
But his stuff just was, rice and beans. It just works. And it's not flashy. There's no car wheels. There's no flying through the air. But it's just down and dirty jiu-jitsu, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's just perfect for me.
Yeah,
so
I
old
appreciate
school
that,
refers
too.
to like teaching the self-defense. Because back in the day, that's what they did. They all knew judo. They all knew self-defense. And then just as time goes on, the Americans get involved and start watering it down. Then it just becomes pure sport. And I just hope it doesn't go that route. But
Yeah. I suppose that's a way to make it grow, though, right?
yes. So it's like I say, sport's not bad. It's just, for me, the self-defense is more important.
Right. You got to keep that balance.
You gotta, I've got a family. If somebody breaks into my house, I'm not gonna, put him in spider guard.
Right.
He's, soda guard and knee on the belly and
Yeah, there you go.
club him.
No, I agree. I mean, you got to, what did they say? You got to think street and practice the art, think street, and what's the third one, Tito?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No idea.
But yeah, you see that sometimes too in the gym in sparring. Guys are worried about getting tapped, and all they're doing is tightening up, getting everything's real tight, and you're going to the back, you're going to knee on belly, you're going north south on them, you're going back to side control.
He's
Back
basically
to,
describing our role.
Right.
That's what he's doing right now.
back to scarf control, and it's like, yeah, I'm not tapping you, but if this was a fight, you'd be dead.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it's hard to
So
it's hard to train with someone who doesn't want to fight back. It's like, well, why are you here then?
I try to fight
he
back
would-
him. He's the problem with Paul and I. Not the problem is he just knows me so well. I hate that. Like he manhandles me like, and it's so frustrating because I'm like, God, I feel like I just don't know anything. And then I'll roll, at open mat, we'll just roll with and I'm like, oh, everyone else doesn't do this to me. What? But he knows my game. He knows my weaknesses very, very well, and he exploits the hell out of them, which is good for me. But it's a hard lesson to learn every time I get like just humbled, like, oh, this is gonna get enough one. I mean, besides Mineko doing that to me and some of the higher ups, but when he does it to me, it's just like, man. So if someone does know you, you're.
Did I read one of you guys is purple and the other's blue?
Yeah, so he's purple,
blue.
I'm blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the name of your gym, Mac?
Copa Jiu-Jitsu. And I named it that because the headquarter Carlson School is in Copacabana, Brazil. Copacabana is a beach in Brazil.
Okay.
So just in honor of Carlson, I just decided to name it Copa.
Very
the
cool.
reason like I say, I'm an electrical engineer. I had like a real job. I'm kind of phasing out of that as I get older and trying to do more jiu-jitsu and less engineering.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure I was lucky enough to train with Senior a lot, like a real lot, and I didn't want his stuff to be forgotten. And luckily, there's a lot of guys like Hagiogo, Rodrigo Medeiros, not Comprito, but there's another Rodrigo Medeiros who's a Carlson black belt, Marcelo Alonso. Those guys are pure Carlson, and I love having them at my school because it's like having Carlson there.
Oh, wow.
And what's even better is they're younger than me, so they're not gonna like. My Hapkido master, my original one, is in his 70s now. They're not as they can't get on the mat and put it to you as hard as they once could.
Right.
Well, these dudes, they're all in their early 50s, so they're 8 years younger than me, and it's like I got Carlson people forever, and then obviously Junior too.
Right.
Junior's in his 40s, so he's still got a lot left in him. And
But he's always traveling.
yeah.
Wow,
Yeah, he
okay.
travels a lot. The association, the federation has gotten really big.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're trying to book him for the podcast, and
yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
it's tough.
yeah, I tried to get him for a seminar. He comes every year to my school
Okay.
At Christmas time, and then we have a Christmas party, and I couldn't even get him for a seminar this year.
That's tough.
So Yeah, he's busy, which is a good thing.
Of course, it's great. It's good. I mean, he's out. What did he say? Like 300 schools he visits a year. It's something like crazy number.
Yeah. That's
Well,
insane.
it's he's carrying on the legacy of his father, and it's just it's great. It's I'm lucky to be part of it.
Yeah. So you're still Carlson Gracie team. Yes. Okay.
Now, did Carlson Gracie Sr. do the same thing that Junior's doing right now, which is traveling around all the time and visiting affiliates?
No, he was more into when he moved from Brazil. He moved to Los Angeles, and that was when Vitor Belfort used to train with us sometimes. But he was really grooming Vitor, and the same time that you had Bustamante and Ricardo Laborio and all the what is now the top team, or what was, I don't know, they broke up. I don't know who's with who anymore. But he was focusing more on the MMA thing, and Junior wanted to always do this. And then when his dad came, they were talking about doing it, but it didn't really take off till actually after his dad died. Junior just kind of decided that it was time to build the federation, and he's done a spectacular job. It's like I said, I'm proud to be a part of it.
So was Junior always so Junior learned jiu-jitsu from his father in Brazil. Mm-hmm. Sent out. He came out here on his own to Chicago.
No, he first was in Florida.
Okay.
And I don't know what happened in Florida, but a couple of Brazilian guys he knew in Chicago somehow talked him into coming to Chicago. Okay. I don't know how they did that, because the Brazilians don't usually like the cold weather. But and so when I first started, it was a bunch of like real tough old school Brazilian guys. Yeah. A guy named Paulo Bezerro, who is a monster. He was involved in the beginning. Hey Giogo was involved in the beginning. Marcelo Alonso, Vitor Belfort. They all kind of went their own ways eventually, but that was the original crew. I think they started he moved here in 96, and I started in 98. So they'd been going a couple of years before I started. But a lot of beatings, man. Yeah. I mean, it was just going in there and just getting your butt kicked over and over and over. And
I didn't like jiu-jitsu in the 90s. That's why I stopped doing it, because we had it at Jeet Kune Do, the school I went to. We had jiu-jitsu, and no, it wasn't fun for me.
I can understand why people don't. That a lot of people drop out because it's
Now I can't. Now I can't understand why people
beat on. And
I mean, back then it makes more sense. Now it's a different scenario. Like when people don't show up to class now, I'm like, what? It's such a nice environment now. You're not getting like
they're guided really nicely into
right. But back then it was like, how much do you weigh?
They're guided nicely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, welcome. Here,
I was going to say that's not the Maneko I remember, right?
Now it's different.
I can't picture him
That's
guiding
different.
me.
Yes.
It's business now.
When you run a business, but
right.
But you still
it's because what is it like? You have to at least show up for 5 classes before you can start rolling.
Gotcha.
Right? Isn't it like something like that? And then he'll pick who you can roll with. Like usually I'll get a lot of the new people to roll with because my role, I guess, is a little more gentler, I guess, if you're going to say. I'm a little more, I tend to be more technical. That's how I roll. Because I'm little. So I tend to like let people do what they want. Then I'll sweep and I'll just do what I need to do. And then sometimes Maneko's like, I want you to tap this guy out. Lots of time. I'm like, all right, dude, I'm sorry. I got to do this to you.
Right.
Because he had me I roll with this white belt. I felt kind of bad because Maneko's like, Zito, I want you to tap him out a lot. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I had to like just put it on this guy. I'm like, all right, dude, I got it.
Well, I mean,
sometimes that's why I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I was like, I got my ass kicked. And
exactly.
I want to be able to learn how to do that.
Yeah, with all the training I had, I thought I'd at least be able to hang. And back before I started with Carlson, the original, you guys aren't old enough to remember, the original Gracie tapes, VHS tapes. Everybody had those. After Hoist won, the Horian came out with I don't know how many. Everybody had those tapes, and everybody was training in their garage. And so I thought, hey, I can hang. And I went in there, and I got the shit beat out of me. And this blue belt wasn't even breathing heavy. And I remember thinking to myself, there's something to this because I'm not a Matuka. I can, I'm
right.
And this guy beat me easily.
Right.
It's like, I want some of this. I got to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
But I could see the other side where people could get discouraged and leave. But,
Right.
you know, I mean, if I would have went in there and beat everybody the first day, I probably wouldn't have joined.
Right.
It's like, what do I need this for?
Right.
But that didn't happen.
How's it at your school? Is it more like the old way of like tradition, like come in, you could roll right away, or is it?
Well, I have them roll right away.
You do
yeah.
have them roll right
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
There's no time period in between.
No.
Do you pick the rolls?
It depends. I kind of, you know, some people come in with a wrestling background, or I can
Okay.
tell they're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
You know, I talk to them obviously first, and I'll put them with like my higher belts, who I know have control, and
Right.
you know, because I got to make sure they're not going to go nuts too. So
It's true.
you know how white belts are.
I
Right.
know.
So, but yeah, I also have an 8-week beginner program. I had an issue. We do a lot of like judo throws. I do real hard conditioning warm-ups, and I would have people come and watch a class, and my guys, they got it down. I'm into repetition, you know, just kind of over and over and over. And my guys move pretty well, and people would watch class, and they'd say, "Man, that was awesome." I'd say, "Well, you want to join?" I ain't kidding on that, Matt. You know, I'm going to slow everybody down. I'm out of shape. You know,
Okay.
and it's like, man, you know, no, it's not like that. And they say, "Well, I see how good your people are, and I don't want to slow them down." And so I thought, man, I got to fix this problem.
Right.
So I created this 8-week beginner class where it's, I assume you know nothing.
Okay.
And everybody starts off the same, so you're not going to slow down anybody, and we go over just the basics. You know, and there's 4 main positions, you know, guard, back, side, and mount. I'm going to show you an escape from each position, and a submission if you're in the dominant position, a submission, an escape if you're in the subordinate position. And that's all we do the first 4 weeks. Show a basic guard pass, show a basic arm bar or whatever, guillotine, you know, whatever, you know, I decided to show that session. And then after week 4, I let them spar for like 30-second rounds.
Oh, nice.
And then I kind of throw in half guard, and maybe I'll teach them a triangle and stuff to kind of, you know, that they probably won't be able to pull off right away, but at least they'll be exposed to it.
Right.
Then after the end of the 8 weeks, they can do roll falls. I teach them basic self-defense stuff, teach them basic like go, show sotogari, a couple of judo throws. So when they come into the regular school, they're still going to get their ass kicked, but you know, at least they kind of know what's, you know,
Right.
where they're at least.
Yeah.
They can, you know, tell the guy nice Americano while he's
Yeah.
so they know. Yeah.
That's cool.
So
That's good.
it's been huge. That beginner class is. I get people. I'm in the middle of one right now, and I get people emailing me. When's the next one? When's the next one? I used to have to advertise. Now people are emailing me for it.
Oh, so it starts on a certain time.
Yeah,
and
it's an
then
8-week
everybody's
thing.
beautiful.
Yeah.
I usually take a week off because we do it from 8 to 9 on Tuesday and Thursday. So I live on Naperville. That gets me home about 10:30. So I take a week or 2 off in between. So,
Yeah.
but it's been awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
And then I get to know the students. They get to know me.
Right.
You know, so if there was one guy that came in, I guess I don't even remember his name. So he comes in, he says, "You know, I want to do the beginner class." I said, "Great." And he comes in, he's got this ankle bracelet on, like prison, you
Yeah.
know. And I said, "What's the ankle bracelet?" He said, "I'm on parole."
Oh, nice.
I said, "Okay." I said, "For what?" He says, "Murder." He said, "But I really want to do this."
Of course you do.
I said, "Dude, we got 2 problems. Number 1, you're going to whack somebody in the head with that thing.
Right.
Number 2, I can't have a convicted murderer on my team." I said, "You know, you seem like a nice enough guy. I don't know the circumstances, but
Right.
so I send him to a competitor school.
Good
I say,
idea.
I go to that guy's school.
to
He'll
that guy.
he'll take you." No, I didn't. I'm just kidding.
Paul was like, wait, you did that?
I was thinking. I was like, who's our new
yes, yeah,
students?
so if you see, check the white belts, check their ankles.
Wow, that's
You know,
interesting.
defense
Yeah.
against your main move, straight ankle lock.
Straight ankle
Why
lock.
can't I get at this guy?
Can't get this guy. What's going on?
No kidding. So you just said sorry.
Yeah, and I'm trying to do this for a living, but I'm not going to just let anybody.
No.
You know, I have great chemistry, as I'm sure you guys do. Every school has pretty good chemistry.
Right.
You get one bad guy in there, and it can just ruin it.
Ruins it.
And it's not worth $125 a month to me to ruin my school.
Yeah.
So if somebody's a problem, I just throw them out.
Yeah.
You know, it's,
Very true.
Yeah, that dude should not have came in with the anklet on. You know, what the hell do you think is going to happen?
I thought he was king. Then I was looking around. I thought, this is a setup. One of my students
Right.
paid this guy. You know, this can't really be happening. But he was, you know,
He was serious, huh?
he was serious. He said murder. What?
Yeah. You're not going to kill me if I tell you can't train here, right? Because you can't train here. Oh, my God.
No, he took it pretty well. I said,
he?
you know, I mean, I didn't like, you know,
Yeah, you weren't
physically
rude
throw him
about
out.
it,
I just
right,
said, hey,
right.
dude, you know.
Sorry. Not good
Yeah, I
fit.
said, for one thing, you know, you're going to whack people in the head with that thing.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't suppose you can remove that. He said, oh, no. And I said, no, that alone is enough. And I said, you know, being convicted of murder, that's going to be, you know, that's
a
going to be
tough
hard to sell.
Yeah,
to
how's
those
that conversation
officers.
go around the water cooler at the gym?
Right.
So,
Yeah,
John, what do you
yes,
do
Mac,
for?
Mac got senile faster than we thought he was going to.
Right. Should we invite the new guy over for the UFC fight?
Oh God, that's too bad.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't
So
know
they
how
have
to trust
no,
that guy
I-
on my back. Like, are you going to let go of that choke,
Yeah,
or is
yeah.
it going to be like
no kidding.
a flashback?
Yeah,
I'm
I
just
didn't
going to
ask
hold
the
it.
details. One of my students was talking about looking him up on the internet. I don't know
Yeah.
if that ever happened or not, but
It's like, are you trying to learn jiu-jitsu to better your life, or do you want to get better at killing people?
Right, they found the murder weapon, but if I use my hands as a
Yeah.
murder weapon, less likely to get caught.
Right.
Fuck.
Next thing you know,
you
there's
meet
a
all
TV
kinds
series and a book, and
Yeah. Copas all over.
Copa's
the
all over
place.
the. You know, if it wasn't for Mack the Knife, I wouldn't have been able to kill 35 people.
that's right. Yeah, you kill somebody with a Copa T-shirt
exactly.
on. Yeah.
Man.
That's an interesting one.
That is.
I haven't heard that one before yet.
No, you know, you think you've seen everything. Teaching is, you know, especially, you know, most normal people don't do this stuff. So, you know, everybody's got some issues that even get into this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who's willing to pay to have you choke them out, you know, so, you know, it just, you gotta, sometimes you get the extremes.
Have you? How many black belts do you have? Have you awarded it? None. Okay.
Oh wow.
No, I've been teaching 7 or 8 years now.
Okay.
The brown belt I have came to me as a blue belt, and he's been training for about 10 years now.
Okay.
And he's the one who just won the gold at
Nice.
Houston. He's good.
Yeah.
Do you stripe them?
No,
Oh, no stripes, huh?
no. I did at the beginning, but
Yeah.
you know, I mean, today you may look like a 2-stripe, and tomorrow you may look like a 1-stripe. It's like kids, I do, you know, but adults shouldn't need, you know.
Yeah.
If someone asked me, "Hey, Mac, you know, I really want to know where I'm at," you know, I'd probably do it, but you know, I mean, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
don't know if
I feel
it's
you there.
Better to do it or not to do it, but I just don't.
We're adults. You know?
Yeah,
It's
that's-
like if you really need a
Yeah,
pat
you're
on the
gonna-
back that
yeah,
bad,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, like when we came from no-gi background.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, when I came back into jiu-jitsu, I strictly did no-gi, so we wouldn't even really have belts. So I got my blue belt,
Yeah.
you know, initially, and then when I went to Mineko's, he honored that blue belt, you know, which was very kind of him because I haven't done gi since the 90s, right? So he awarded that, you know, belt to me. He's like, okay, you can still be a blue belt, and got my ass kicked for
Yeah,
a long
yeah,
time.
yeah.
But then, you know, he striped us, you know, and he does do stripes, stuff like that, which is cool. You know, I mean, that's fine. I mean, for me,
I
it's-
don't have anything against them. I just, I don't know.
But I think there's, you know, reason for both. I mean, some the business aspect of it, people like to see, you know, improvement.
Right,
They're like,
right.
oh, you know, I got 1 stripe, I got 2, you know, I'm almost ready, and it kind of gives people maybe a little more of a push,
Yeah.
to like do a little bit.
You got
more.
to cater to the Americans.
That's the thing
Here's
is-
your progress.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what you're.
Well, I
that's-
guess I do with kids because they do need some
Right.
some recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only stripes I ever got were on my black belt.
Yeah.
You know, so
Wow.
the first time I ever got a stripe.
So
was-
Carlson, that's something he never did, or did he do that?
Junior did at the beginning. I don't know if he still does.
Okay.
I think he still does.
Oh, does he? Okay.
Senior, he only promoted a couple of people because I kind of trained with him all the time. Me and Stefan Bonner were kind of his students. I'm trying to think if there was anybody else. Carlos Rodriguez was his last black belt. He's a stud. He's out in Arizona now. That's my old training partner.
Okay.
He and he used to just tear everybody up. The guy was cool, but he was Carlson's last black belt. Aaron LaPointe was Carlson's last American or last any black belt. Aaron LaPointe was his first American black belt. Oh, wow. I don't know if you know Aaron. He's got one arm. The guy is just a stud. 140 pounds maybe. One arm, never uses it as an excuse. That guy's got a triangle like you've never felt before.
No kidding. Yeah.
He's awesome.
Wow.
And he's just a gentleman. He's to me what martial arts are all about.
Yeah.
So they were both in my morning class, the 6 a.m. class. I actually taught as purple belt, and I had a couple of black belts in there that I told them, I said, the class is yours. Junior asked me to run the morning class, but if you guys, they said, nope, you're doing fine. We just want to train. So,
nice.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's always cool.
Yeah, so it was very respectful of them, but I would actually rather had one of them teach it because they knew a lot more than I did, but they were just being respectful to me.
So you give promotions out then when someone's ready. You don't have ceremonies.
Yeah, actually, I don't even have. I used to do belt tests, or June 24th is the belt promotion ceremony.
Right.
But then I kind of felt obligated to maybe give people belts or hurt their feelings before they were ready.
Right.
So now what I'll do is say, John, come up to the front of the mat, and everybody knows what that means, and I promote them one at a time.
Yeah.
And I promote pretty slow, as senior did as well. So that just works for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd certainly rather be promoted slow than fast.
Yeah.
Any day.
I've always told my students there is no upside to getting promoted in jiu-jitsu.
No.
You just got a bigger bullseye in your back.
Yeah.
I liked blue belt. I wish I was still a blue belt. Those days, that was the best. Enjoy it.
I do enjoy it. I love being a blue belt.
Because you get even if you get tapped by a white belt, you're only a blue belt. So you got nothing to lose. You tap a purple or a brown, you're a king. It was great.
Right.
Blue belt was for sure. I was a blue belt for 4.5 years, and then senior promoted me to purple belt. And
awesome.
Yeah, it was. I was teaching Aikido at the time in the Saturday morning class, and I had spine surgery, spinal fusion surgery. I guess from birth, I had some disc issues or some vertebrae issues.
Okay.
And so I started losing function in my left arm, and it atrophied to the point where if I didn't have the surgery, I wasn't going to be able to use the arm anymore. Okay. So that Saturday was the last class I was going to take before the surgery. I was having surgery on like Monday. So I taught my Hapkido class, and they were having a belt promotion that day. And I was all sweaty from the Hapkido class. So Junior said, Mack the Knife, I want you up here for the belt ceremony. I said, okay, I'm going to go shower, and I was just going to watch. And I was a blue belt at the time. And he kind of like turned away, and I just left. And I went downstairs. I was getting undressed, going to shower in the locker room, and Junior comes down. He said, Mack the Knife, my daddy wants you upstairs. And I said, okay, I'm going to shower real quick. I'll be up before you do the promotions. He said, no, my daddy wants to promote you. And I said, well, I'm going to be having surgery this week. I got rehab. I don't want to come back with a fresh purple belt after 8 weeks out.
Right.
I said, well, can we do it like next year? And he said, Mack the Knife, when Carlson Gracie Sr. tells you you're going to get promoted, you don't say wait till next year. You put your key back on. Get it. He screamed at me. He was mad.
Wow.
It's like, I see your point.
Yeah.
And thank God, because Senior died shortly after that.
Wow. Yeah.
Or not real shortly, but I mean, I'm glad I got one rank from him anyway.
That's awesome.
So.
Jeez.
Very cool.
Yeah, I was shocked, when he called me out.
Man.
Yeah.
And did they know you were going in for surgery at all, or?
Yeah, they didn't care.
They didn't care. Exactly.
Yeah, actually, I came back with a neck brace on.
Did you?
And I was doing drills with my neck brace on. So my doctor knew I did. Actually, he did like kickboxing, so he knew jiu-jitsu. And he said, you probably shouldn't do that stuff anymore. And I said, well, let me worry about that.
Yeah, right.
You just fix the neck.
I'd rather die.
And he said, okay, do me a favor. As long as you got this neck brace on, don't do anything.
Right.
I said, all right, I can agree to that. So I go in and start doing drills. I wasn't sparring, but I wanted to do something. So Senior had these stickers, and you can ask any senior, anybody who trained under senior, he put them everywhere. I had a sticker, Carlson Gracie Bulldog sticker on my wallet. We had a penthouse condo in Chicago. He put one on the window. My wife says, we paid a lot of money for this view. Get that thing off there. And so anyway, he comes up one day, and I got this neck brace on. He puts a sticker on there. So I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was funny. So I go back to the doctor that week, and he said, "So you haven't been on the mat at all?" I said, "No, sir. I told you I wouldn't get on the mat, and I didn't." He said, "Really?" I said, "Really?" He said, "And what's that on your neck?" I said, "Oh, I guess I'm busted." He says Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. How'd that get on your neck if you weren't? So, okay. So, yeah.
Got him. Yeah.
And now everything's healed up. Everything's good.
That was in 2003.
Nice.
I got my purple belt in 2003, and I have not had a bit of problem since.
Wow.
When I woke up from the surgery, this hand, I couldn't hold a glass of water.
Oh, wow.
I felt strength the minute I woke up.
That sounds.
So you had no grip strength,
No, I couldn't even post.
Really?
I was fighting basically one-handed.
Damn.
And, I don't know what was wrong with me. I mean, my wife said, she noticed it was like atrophied, and she said, didn't you feel this? I said, well, yeah, but I just, was fighting one-handed. She said, what's wrong with you? I said, I just love jiu-jitsu. It just never occurred to me to do something about it. Thank God I did. I didn't
It was like
realize
that for how long?
It happened really fast. I had issues with this arm. It was always kind of weak, and I never knew why. I didn't really think much of it.
Just growing up.
I just always felt that this hand, I thought I'm right-handed, so it's probably normal. And I used to wear headgear, and the headgear I had was, I don't know where I got it, but it was like this Princess Leia kind of headgear. It wasn't so I was rolling with somebody. I don't know why I remember it was August 1st, and my headgear got caught in this guy's gear, his belt, and he rolled, and my neck went with it. Oh. And I think that just shoved the discs out of the way, because it was 3 weeks after that. It was the end of August that I got my purple belt, and I had surgery the last week of August. So it took 1 month for this thing to atrophy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and like I say, I have not had a bit of trouble with it since. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Jeez. No other injuries other than that?
Shoulder, I've had 2 rotator cuff surgeries on this side and 1 on this side.
Wow.
Wear and tear or
just
submission?
Hapkido and judo, just all the throws. In Hapkido, we do a lot of judo throws, and I trained with a bunch of different judo people. And it just, some people have rotator surgery that are accountants. They don't do anything. So at least I got some. I got my money's worth out of these.
Exactly.
Actually, I listened to a little bit of Bender's, and he mentioned I had stem cells injected in both. Because the doctor, this one is torn again. I had surgery on this about 5 years ago, and I tore it again, a labrum this time. No more surgeries. I can deal with the pain. I just wanted to try stem cells just to see maybe it'll work.
And what were the results like?
It was 4 months ago. It's no worse than it was. It was worth the try. It's not the magic pill I was hoping for.
Okay. So
where'd you have that done? Was it out here?
No, in Naperville. My wife's a doctor, and 2 of the guys who train in my basement are doctors, so they set me up with this guy named Chris Alden.
Okay.
I guess he's a real high-level, well-known guy out there. I don't know.
So how does that work? Do they extract it from your hip or something like that?
That's one of the things, but they actually use like placenta fluid. Pregnant women, they get stem cells from there.
Right.
And I asked him, I said, is there any chance you could get like the stem cells from a woman Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion? I don't want to use my own. My own didn't hold up. So let me try somebody else's.
Right.
Give me some good ones, some young ones.
Yeah.
Right. It's no worse than it was. And they don't really know, so it maybe in 6 months from now it'll feel great.
Oh, yeah.
It still hurts. So, but I tried to, for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been going pretty light just to try to let it heal. But
well, let me know, because my father has frozen shoulder, what they call it. He was an electrician for over 40 years, and now his right shoulder, he could barely do this.
Yeah.
He can't lift a gallon of milk off to the side. He could do it like this, but off to the side, it's like he can't lift anything. And they have them doing all sorts of different stretches with like a golf club and stuff like that. But you know,
I think it's probably the wave of the future. I think right now it's in the early stages, so they don't really know. And it's hard to know because I also did therapy, and I did everything I could to fix this. So it's no worse than it was. It always hurts, so it's kind of hard to tell the magnitude of the pain. It's probably a little better, but it's not like it didn't solve the problem.
Right? Yeah. It's hard to tell too. Like guy who just is always on the mats. It's like, does it ever heal?
Something always hurts. So it's
something's always definitely. So do you compete?
When I started, I have a couple of times. When I started, they didn't have tournaments like they do now. Right. It was the Pan Ams, and that was it. I mean, they had like Naga was even worse run than it is now. I mean, it was a fiasco. So I've competed. I've medaled in the Pan Ams a couple of times. I'm going to fight in the Worlds this year, actually.
You are Master Worlds?
Master Worlds.
Good man.
Nice. Yeah. Well, we should see you down there.
Yeah,
Paul.
Yeah. How old are you?
58.
58.
So Master 6. There's already 4 people in my division.
Is it already?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I guess Sean Burke, you've had him on. He's a good friend of mine. He's a lighter weight class than me. We're exactly the same age. He's won a couple of times in a row. And I guess he kind of keeps track of, he knows all the competitors and stuff. And he says there's the same 6, 8, 10 guys in either the light or in middleweight division. They kind of jump back and forth that compete every year. And I guess they're all really tough dudes. One guy's like a Canadian judo champion. Another guy's a college wrestling guy who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So everybody says all those old guys, they should be easy to beat. It's like they ain't been sitting around for the last 50 years.
No. We were out at Master Worlds last year. Those dudes are savages.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a whole nother. I mean, I've competed a lot as a white and blue, and Worlds was like eye-opening. I'm like, these guys are, now I'm going against, I normally have to go against younger guys. That's because I'm 42 and I weigh 133 pounds. So there's not a lot of people here in the Midwest that are going to meet those credentials. So I'm always going against younger guys. Yeah. So I went there and I'm going against people my own age, my own size. 141 is in the gi. So, and these guys are no joke.
Yeah.
Like
I said, these guys probably did something before, either wrestled or judo. I did Hapkido, which isn't completely applicable, not as much as wrestling or judo would be. But it's getting better now with the joint locks because I do a lot of wrist locks.
Good, yeah.
And I throw those into our,
that's something I need to start probably throwing in a little more.
Yeah, people say, don't you think they're cheap? It's like, it's better than losing.
I don't get that.
What I like about them is they work like in a stand-up self-defense situation, so it's not only just a sport technique.
Right.
Somebody grabs you can lock them up. And over the years, people always say, have you ever had to use it in a real situation? And I've had a couple of encounters over the last 30 years where every time it was a basic, either the hillbilly was a guy at a concert, actually.
All right.
We lived in Indianapolis for a while. And my wife went to med school down there. So we were at a John Cougar Mellencamp concert. He's a big deal down there. Yeah. So we were down there with a bunch of people. We had like 10 of us, 5 couples. And I was way on this end. And my friends were down on this end. Well, the guys behind them were drunk, and as pretty much everybody was. But I mean, they were like way drunk. And they started something with this guy, and kind of one of the guys hit him and knocked him out. So everybody's saying, they knew I trained. They said, Mark. So I'm trying to work my way past everybody. And by the time I get there, the guys with the yellow jackets took them off, the Andy Frayne guys, they called them back then. And the excitement was over. They took away the guy who started the fight, and my friend was still there. He was bleeding, but he was okay. So there were 2 guys left. So I got there, and it was too late. I got there as fast as I could. But so one of them says, who are you supposed to be? I said, dude, it's like the last song. Why don't you just be cool and we've had enough trouble. And he looks at his friend, He said, looks to me like somebody's about to get their ass kicked. I said, well, you're right about that much. And he grabbed me and he went back to swing, and I got him what we call it in America. It's a stand-up Americana.
Right.
And the guy was a hillbilly, so one of my students called it the hillbilly because I just referred to him as a hillbilly.
Right.
And I cranked, and he said, Jesus, man, please let go. That hurts. I said, yeah. I said, don't grab me again, man. So there was no punches, no police. It was great, so... This stuff, that's the same technique my white belt did in the whatever tournament it was. I don't remember which one it was.
Nice.
So,
stand-up sub. Those are great. You just see a lot of guillotines. That's
Yeah, for stand-up,
But I know what you're talking about. Someone grabs you here and you just wrap it around.
Wrap it around, get under the elbow.
Yeah.
He did it no gi. It's harder no gi because obviously slippery. With the gi, you have a little bit of friction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. But there's a lot of stuff you can do standing, and nobody expects it.
What other street situations you got, Mark? You said there's been a couple over the years.
Well, I mean, it's not like I get in fights all the time. It's been over like 30 years.
Right,
a guy in a bar on the south side, actually it was
what?
south suburbs.
South side? I can't believe it.
No, this was Chicago Heights. So
fighting on the south side?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Glad I'm sitting down. Shocking.
It was at a pool hall, and some guy, I just got him in what we call an S-lock. And, that's just here. You just grab like that.
Uh-huh.
So, he was drunk, and I was sober. I had just walked in. It was over a pool game.
Yeah.
And I just put my quarters on the table. And, I don't know, one thing led to another, and he was drunk, and he grabbed me, and I put him in this. And I just got there. I didn't want to get thrown out or put in jail. I hadn't had a beer yet.
Yeah.
So I got him in there, and I just said, listen, I don't want to fight, and I know you don't want to fight. Why don't we just call this a draw?
Yeah.
He said, okay.
All right.
So, it comes in handy. So, this stuff works. Yeah.
Yeah, those wrist locks are.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a lot of those in Jeet Kune Do. But I just never think to apply in jiu-jitsu.
But they're always grabbing you.
I know, it's so interesting. I never really, I know.
Everything they grab is,
and even when we had Benjamin on and he was showing us like, dude, you can do this stuff in jiu-jitsu. Like, I'm like, oh, you're right. But I still forget. But yeah, I'm going to have to just
start throwing those wrist locks in there.
But the thing is, because I don't want to hurt, because I know it's shocking sometimes, and I don't want to ever like grab it and just, whoa.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what's coming, I'm going to hurt your wrist.
Yeah, especially if you're on top and you lose your balance. They are dangerous.
Yeah.
But
maybe in a competition. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think
you got to train it, though, Zito.
Blue belt is, in my opinion, they should allow them like purple and up.
Purple and up, okay.
Blue belt, I think, is a little too soon, but, the rules are the rules.
And those blue belts that are black belts in judo, I don't appreciate. Those are the guys you got to watch out for.
Yeah.
Now, when you guys train like sport, are you mainly like IBJJF rule set kind of school, or do you guys do like heel hooks and all that stuff too?
I just started doing some foot locks and ankle lock stuff. I don't really care for that stuff that much.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. I don't care for it until you're about purple belt or above, because I see white belts getting good at those things, and they're heel hooking people all over the place. But you mount them, they don't know how to escape.
Right.
So I think there's a time and a place for them. I just don't think it should be that early.
Got to have a base.
Yes. It's I tell my students, you got to learn real jiu-jitsu first. Then we get to that. You got to eat your vegetables, and then because Carlson taught me a lot of that stuff. Or I shouldn't say a lot, but enough to, I'm not a footlock expert, but I've got a few escapes that I got to teach everybody now, because they're allowing them at white belt now. A lot of tournaments.
Some tournaments. What do you think about the, have you seen any of the EBI combat
I've heard
ones?
about that when they slap each other in the head. I like the idea. I've not watched one, but we do that a lot in classes where we do it with gloves where, a lot of times you get mounted or I see students getting mounted and they're like relaxed and chilling.
They're
It's
hanging
like-
out there.
It's like, dude, you never relax. If you're losing, you should be going ape shit to get out of this thing.
Right.
So I'll put a pair of boxing gloves on the guy on top and say, punch him in the face. Maybe that'll motivate
I
him.
like it.
Yeah, and that changes everything. That's how you should be in mount all the time.
I like the way you roll, Mac.
Well,
yeah,
I mean-
because some guys they'll fight you for 2 seconds and
Yeah.
then they'll go, okay, you got the points.
Yeah.
Right? And then they just hang out.
Exactly. It's like, what if this
It's
was
like-
a street fight?
Exactly.
What are you going to do? Just lay there? Because the habits you create are going to be what you do. You're losing. There's no hanging out when you're losing. You got to go ape shit, man.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good motivational tool.
Yeah.
Carlson used to do that kind of stuff a lot.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Carlson, it was just Mack the Knife. This is a fight, Paul. You got to fight. And I agree.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Hell yeah.
It's train the sport, think the street, and practice the art. I think that's what I was
Is that
trying
what
to
it
refer
is?
to
Oh, okay.
earlier. But that's, if you do that,
Can we put that on a T-shirt?
I'm sure it's already out on a t-shirt.
You think so?
Yeah.
That sounds like it should be.
Yeah, that's good saying.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carlson always, both junior and senior. When I say Carlson, I don't specify junior, but I use them interchangeably because they were both my teachers.
Right.
I forgot what I was just going to say. Oh, they focus on techniques. Carlson always said, Mack the Knife, it's got to work in the street, in MMA, and in a tournament. And there's some exceptions to if it's getting closer to tournament time, we'll do more tournament-style techniques. But in general, that's all I teach. This stuff, I just envision myself like I've never fought MMA. I was too old, but I trained a lot with Miguel Torres, and I was corner man for Stephan Bonner for UFC 62. And so
Nice.
I used to train with Carlson and those guys, training the MMA stuff. And I always think to myself, okay, what if this is a street fight? And you got to make sure, and the modifications aren't that great if the base system allows for it. So in
Yeah.
Carlson was just a genius. He just everything. It's not just a random collection of techniques. Everything is connected.
Yeah.
And he was a very intelligent guy.
That's good.
And,
What's Stephan Bonner doing these days?
He lives in Vegas, and he was doing bond trading. As last I heard. Now I think he came to my school. He and I are very good friends. And for the 8th anniversary of Carlson's death, February 1st, a couple of years ago, we went out and had a beer after the seminar. And he said, he calls me, all the real old school guys call me Mayor still. Mayor was the original name. So he said, hey, Mayor, what do you think of this idea? I think I'm going to get into pro wrestling. And I spit out my beer. I thought he was kidding. He's not. He's doing something with it. I see it on Facebook.
Okay.
But he was day trading for a while. And I'm not sure how that's going.
Yeah.
We keep in touch some, but not
he
so
seems like he could. Pro wrestling would be.
I think
kind of
he could
suits
do
his
that.
character.
It's
Yeah.
perfect for him.
Yeah. I can totally see
He
him
is
like
just
in there.
such a great guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he fought Forrest Griffin the second time in UFC 62, and I called him up because my wife kind of gave me a get out of jail free card for the weekend, and she said, I know all the guys are going. Why don't you go ahead too? So I called him up and I said, I'm going to be out there. I know you're busy. I know you're fighting. If you have time to say hi, great. If not, that's cool. He said, I tell you what, man, I got to go. I'll call you right back. So I thought, geez, he's busier than I thought. I don't know, 30 seconds later, my phone rings. All right, man, you're in my corner. And
Damn.
he didn't do it because of my vast knowledge. I mean, he and I got blue belt the same day. So he just did it because it's like the old dude doesn't get out much. I'm going to have him,
That's
awesome.
He didn't listen to anything. It was me, Miguel Torres, and a guy named Helio Soneca were in his corner. 3 basic jiu-jitsu guys.
Right.
And, I don't know if you watch a fight, it was, swinging for the
stand up.
fence. Yeah, same
Yeah.
as the first one.
Right.
So he didn't listen to anything we said anyways. But it was an honor. That's the kind of guy he is.
That's
just
so cool that
a
you were
great
there.
dude. Yeah, it just he just did it to give me something to talk about here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No
really
kidding.
cool.
I mean, like, is that the most historic MMA fight to date?
I would assume so. I mean, that put
Well, that's-
UFC
yeah.
on the map, like
Actually,
for the younger generation.
I met Dana White, and he told me the same thing. He said, if it wasn't for this guy, he said, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah.
So I was there for the second one, not the first one.
Okay.
Senior was there for the first one, the real wild one.
Yeah.
The second one was kind of a toned down version of the first one. Everything was basically the
But
same.
they're also older too, so you
Yeah,
got to
yeah.
understand, right? Yeah, the hunger wasn't all there in the second one.
Yeah.
The hunger in the first one
Oh,
was
yeah.
unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's incredible. I mean, man, what a fight.
Yeah. For sure.
Did you see the fights this past weekend? Did you watch the
No,
Romero?
but I'm a Kimura fanatic because when I had my spine surgery, I originally was a guillotine fanatic. I was a one-trick pony, just guillotines at blue belt. Blue belts they get one good technique that they can catch a lot of people with, and
Just from close guard, guillotine from
yeah, or mount.
Or mount.
I could get it from mount, and actually it was a funny little story. My nickname was the Mayor, so I would do this like all the time. It was my only technique. It was not good for my jiu-jitsu, but it was good for my ego. But so they started calling it the Mayor because that was my nickname. So one day I come in and there's two guys. I don't know if they were from the night class or, two guys that were part of the school, but I didn't know. So I rolled with both of them and I married them both. So I'm sitting up to the side and those guys are sitting in between rounds. And I heard one guy say to the other, Did you roll with this guy? Yeah, he married me. He said, yeah, he married me too. They didn't know I was the mayor. Yeah, I just thought, man, this is hilarious.
The mayor.
But then after I had spine surgery, I didn't want to get choked out for a while.
Right.
And so I would say, hey, let's roll. I won't choke you. You don't choke me. Then I realized I don't really have many other techniques.
Right.
So that was Carlson was around. So I asked him one day in a private, the obvious question, what's your favorite technique?
Right.
He said, Kimura. So I decided I'm going to be the king of Kimuras. So anyway, one of my students sent me a video. I guess one of the fights, the guy had a stand-up Kimura, went down, swept him over, leg over the head.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite techniques.
Oh, is it?
So I didn't, to answer your question, I didn't see the fights. Last night, my wife and daughter went out for Valentine's Day dinner. And
Oh, nice.
I was going to ask her to go see the fights, but it just... I don't want to push my luck too much. So,
Yeah.
Happens.
I thought,
I miss them. I miss them also.
but I guess Rockhold got knocked out.
Yeah.
he got knocked out in the third. I heard.
Pretty
yeah.
bad too.
Was it bad?
It was a nasty one. Yeah.
Oh wow! But Romero didn't make weight. I didn't know that either.
Oh, did he not make weight?
That's why there was no interim belt. He was a 187.5 or
How can you
187.7.
not make weight?
Doesn't
It's
make
not
weight.
like they called you this morning and said, hey, you're going to fight that.
Right.
So
and that's their only job.
That's it.
You
I
know,
mean, that was for the interim belt. So he's like, oh, you know how he's like, I just read something on Instagram, like on his feed. It was like, oh, this is the way God wanted it. I'm like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
I don't think
Like,
God
you
wanted
can't.
I don't think God wanted you to not make weight.
Yeah, you can't just
That's
use
weird.
God for everything.
Right.
You know?
Like, that's the
you fucked
go-to.
up. Like, God did not want that.
That's funny. But yeah, so he didn't make weight. And then Hunt lost. He lost by decision, I heard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot he was on that card.
Yeah. In his hometown, right? That's
Yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.
That's where Hunt's from.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, he's from New Zealand, isn't he? But is that right? Is he from New Zealand? Or is he
One
from
of those
Australia?
two.
I don't know.
One of those two.
Like don't they claim each other or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't even
They
know.
hate each other.
Do they hate each
yeah,
other?
I think so. Yeah. It's like an English-Irish thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Like, fuck you guys.
The,
You
the
know?
Australians got better accents. That's why they're mad.
Right. So how many students you have now, Matt?
Probably about 125. That's
Nice.
including about 20 kids. So
Good for
probably
you.
100 adults, 25 kids.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's I'm a lucky man. It's a great school, great chemistry. The students are just, and I'm sure every school, that's one good thing about jiu-jitsu is just the camaraderie and the friendships. And, I've seen one of my pair of students, a guy and a girl, just recently got married and they met on the mat. And it's like,
awesome.
Pat and Kristen, who I was just talking about, are
Yeah.
boyfriend and girlfriend. So
That's good.
I'm not going to say anything about Pat getting married. Yeah, this is just between us, right?
Right.
Right.
It's just
exactly.
between us.
We won't
have
tell
to-
anyone.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just, the school is just, I don't know, it's 1,400 square feet of no BS, no politics, no drama. You just get away from all the BS in the world, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I heard your workouts are very, Very tough.
Well, the reason I do this is to stay in shape.
Yeah.
And I hate seeing teachers that are overweight and don't do anything and just point while they're eating a Twinkie and say, "No, put your foot there," as they're shoveling down a Big Mac.
Right.
So yeah. These days there was a time that a jiu-jitsu guy could know like certain techniques that somebody else may not know. But these days with DVDs and the internet and seminars, I mean, it's hard not to know all this stuff. So you got to have an edge. And to me, nothing is an edge like conditioning. Right. Nothing breaks a person's will faster than fatigue.
Right.
Just break them.
Yeah.
I love Dan Gable and his philosophies. He just ran them into the ground.
Yeah.
And, that's what I want my students to do.
Yeah.
You may lose, but you ain't going to lose because you were too tired to fight.
Right.
So
You're the Dan Gable of Chicago Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, I try to model, I wish I was. Yeah.
That'd be great.
But I mean, I just like how he thinks.
And you have 120 students. Wow. Damn. Good for you. Surprised you only have, if you run shit like Dan Gable.
Well, no. Yeah.
You should only have 10 guys to show up once a week.
Yeah. Well, actually, when I taught this 6 a.m. class at Carlson School, it was all like Carlos Rodriguez, Aaron LaPointe, just all the tough dudes came in the morning.
Yeah.
And we just decided we did an hour of hard conditioning warm-up. And then we'd do technique and spar. So it was gut-wrenching. It was awesome. It's like if anybody complained, it's like, hey, then don't come.
Yeah.
This is, if my ass is getting up at 5:30 in the morning, we're doing it the way I want. And Carlos is even crazier than me. And then Isaac Riggs was in there, and he's as crazy. We tried to out-crazy each other.
Right.
We would, split it up and say, okay, Isaac, you get 15 minutes. And we would try to, outdo each other.
Yeah.
And between me, him, and Carlos, it was fun. Because I just like hard workouts.
Yeah.
Why are you doing it if you're not going to get a good workout?
Right.
Very true. Man, see, Paul, hard
what?
work pays off.
Thanks, man.
All right, so where can people find you?
We're at 3727 North Broadway. It's in the back of Quad's Gym. It's a big bodybuilding muscle gym.
Okay.
And we rent, like I say, about 1,400 square feet in the back. 2-inch thick Dollarmer mats with a sprung floor.
Nice.
We do a lot of throws.
Beautiful.
We do a lot of throws, a lot of takedowns and throws.
And then on the internet, your web address?
www.copabjj.com. COPABJJ.com.
Nice. And Instagram? Are you on Instagram too?
No.
Instagram?
No, I just
Read
figured
the
I've
head,
recently
Tito.
figured out how
Carlson Gracie,
Facebook
old
works.
school.
Oh, Facebook.
Yeah, my students make fun of me because sometimes I post, I think I'm posting, and I didn't know what a wall was. I guess I post on somebody else's wall or something. And,
right.
They make fun of me. Yeah, I'm an electrical engineer, but Facebook just baffles me. So Instagram or Twitter, they're not even on the table.
Right.
No,
Well, Instagram is not that bad. Instagram just throw up photos. That's
Yeah.
it. It's not
Instagram
that
might be
bad.
easier for you, actually.
Yeah, actually, it
You
might
can't
be easier.
post on anyone else's wall on Instagram.
No, you can't do that. Well, we appreciate you coming on. It's
Well,
been
thank you for
awesome.
inviting me. It was an honor to be here, and glad we have such a great jiu-jitsu community in the city.
Yeah.
'Cause it's awesome.
And we're going to do a little technique after this?
Sure.
Awesome, man.
I'll
All right.
show you some old school stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Sounds
Thanks for
good.
joining us. We'll see you guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. For more information about Grappler Union Podcast, you could visit us at our website at grapplerunion.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Grappler Union. Please like us on Facebook. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes. And all of our episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Say what?
Be sure to subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe to all that shit. You got to do another take, right? This episode of the Grappler Union Podcast is brought to you by BJJ Tees. Go to bjjtees.com, enter the promo code Grappler Union, and save 10% off all your jiu-jitsu apparel. Go to bjjtees.com today.
This episode of the podcast is also brought to you by Strychnine Jiu-Jitsu, makers of vintage-inspired tees, hoodies, and rash guards. Go to strychnine.co, that's STRYCH9.co, and use the promo code UNION at checkout to receive 20% off your online order.